Y'all know how I make it live, y'all.
That's right.
I know I should be going to church. I know I should be in the house of the Lord. But I'm going to just stay at home today. Let me work on that. There are some things that may be happening in your life. There are some things, there are some breakthroughs that you may need. You say, you know what? I just don't feel like it today. And that's okay if you don't feel like it. But if you don't press your way, there's no blessing without pressing. When you press your way because of the way that you feel, then God said, I'm going to meet you in my house. Sister Lois got out of the car last Sunday. She said, I felt the presence of the Lord in the parking lot. She said, when I come into the house of the Lord, and he filled the room like he did in the day of Pentecost, y'all. He filled the room. And she said, I got into his presence. And because I got into his presence, he delivered me. Because she said, we got up late. And she said, the devil is a lie. We're going to go. We're still going to make our way into the house of the Lord. And they got here just in time, y'all. They got here just in time. So David, instead of David being with his army crew fighting, look, you can have on all the suits you want to. But if you ain't getting those knees rusted, it means nothing. You got on suits, but you ain't fighting. You have on a Christian suit. You got on your tie, your collar, and all this kind of stuff. But if you ain't fighting, doesn't mean nothing. What do you mean fighting? If you don't have the word in your heart, if you ain't getting those knees rusted, praying to the Lord, it doesn't mean a thing. As men of God, we have to understand what we should do in the battle. We are in the battle of the Lord, y'all. We are against the enemy. We are against the enemy because the enemy is against us. And we are on the front line. Minister Pete, Minister Orr, are y'all going to preach today? Y'all going to preach today? I remember my bishop said, you the leader, you're supposed to be preaching. You ain't going to just come into church and say, which one of y'all going to preach? Which one of y'all going to preach? No, the people are waiting to hear a word from the Lord from the pastor. How crazy is that? Sending the troop out without the leader. So David stays at home. When he stayed at home, the flat roof, they were on a flat roof. This flat roof, when David got up that morning, he went on the flat roof. And the house was made with flat roofs. This was how, you know how we get into the backyard and get together, have our barbecues, and have our little cookout and all that kind of stuff. This is what they did on the rooftop of their home. So David comes out in the palace. And so he looks over and sees a beautiful young lady. And look over and like, wow, I can imagine what he's saying. I'm a man, y'all. All right. We keep it 100 in this house. Like, wow. So David kept looking. He forgot about that word. He said, flee useful lust. The Bible said you got to flee useful lust. What did it say? I love Adidas, so I get my spiritual Adidas on and get up out of there. So Brother E, when we know it's not of God, we got to get our spiritual shoes on and get up out of there. Because now you get ready to get into some things that you have no business getting into. So now David sees Bathsheba. He said, wow, look, who is that? He said, oh, that's Uriah's wife. You know what that is? The Hittite. I need y'all to go get her. Go get her. Tell her to come in. Bring her over to the palace. My. But she's married, David. Yeah. Now, if David would have been out on the field, this would have never happened. That's right. That's right. I hear commentators saying that Bathsheba had something to do with that too, because she was out there too. But I don't know, because Bathsheba's husband was at war. So she knew it was a war. So at this time, and it was custom that the king be out there with their men. Yes, sir. And so because she felt like all the men was gone to war. She didn't. I don't think she expected David to be out there, because her husband was in war and the king was. So people said she knew what she was doing. She was manipulating David. I don't know, but either the case, David had no business doing it. My point of the matter is, we do things knowing that we have no business doing it, but we do it anyway. And then we don't want to suffer the consequences that come behind it. We got to understand that this is not of God when we do things in our own conscience. When we do things that is not like God. Every time we do some things that is not like God, these are the kind of thing that goes on. So Bathsheba comes over to the palace, to the king. The king and Bathsheba had they roll around in the hay. Once they had they roll around in the hay, now Bathsheba sent messages back to the king. Things that a lot of guys don't want to hear. Well, I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant. I am with child. So David thinking about like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do now? I ain't going to ask you if you ever been in that situation when you had gotten that call. Or made the call. So David like, now what am I going to do about this? Remember, David is after God's own heart. David's supposed to have been able to pull that word out of his heart, y'all. So what that's showing us as believers, there might be some things, if we don't stay into his house, if we don't stay into his will, if we don't stay into his way, that you're going to go out of his way. That's why we stay in his will and his way, but not your will and not your way. When we stay in our own will and in our own way, we're going to go our way. Our way is the way of destruction. But God's way is always a straight way. That way, that narrow way. Straight is the gate, y'all. And narrow is the way. You better come on here, mother. Yes, sir. And because of that, David wasn't going straight. David was making all kinds of curves. That's another thing, y'all. When you begin to lie, you got to continue to lie. If you don't continue to lie, your story will not line up. But you got to know you can't lie to God, because God knows everything. God sees everything. It reminds me when God told Ezekiel to put a hole in the wall. He said, what do you see back there? Ezekiel was seeing all kind of nastiness and newness going on. God said, they think I don't see them. They think I don't know what's going on. But look at here, y'all. This was church folks, y'all. This was church folks. He said, they think I don't see them. They think I don't know what's going on. The Bible said the eyes of the Lord is in every place, beholding the evil and the good. So now David, y'all, David gets that call from Bathsheba and tell her that he was pregnant. Now when he knows that she was pregnant, he's like, okay, let me see what I'm going to do. I'm going to get her husband back from the war. So he sends message to Joab. He was the commander of the war. He said, hey, send me Uriah. So as Uriah come back, he said, I I want you to go. First, he called himself talking to Uriah about the war. He tried to make it seem like he was getting messages from what's going on during the war. He said, okay, this is what I want you to do. Thank you for letting me know all of this. But go on. He said, wash your feet and go to your house. What does that word? What does that mean, wash your feet? He said, wash your feet. Meaning that you go to your house and attend to your wife. Go to your house and tend to your wife. He tried to sucker him like that, y'all. He tried to manipulate him. Isn't that how we do sometimes? We get into some things that we knew and know that we had no business doing. And so now we try to manipulate our way through. You can't manipulate your way through when you're a child of the King, y'all. Why do you say that, Pastor? Because if you are a true believer, there's no illumination if there's no conviction. God will convict you on the things that you have no business doing. He will convict you. And when that conviction comes, you got to talk to the Lord, y'all. And David continued to do things that he had no business doing. He said, go to your wife. Go to your wife. He didn't even go. He said, he said, you know what, King? He said, my Lord, my leader is out there fighting. They protecting the ark. They in tents in the field. He said, no way that I'm going to go in the comfort of my home and be with my wife while my fellow members is out there in war. Let me make it live. No way am I going to miss church when my fellow brothers and sisters is getting their knees rusty. No way is I'm going to be in my house when I can be in the house of the Lord praising him corporately, because God gives us time together to praise him corporately. Only way that you should not be in the house of the Lord praising God corporately with the other believers is when you are afflicted in your bed of sickness. When God does things corporately for the saints sometimes, when you can't do it personally, because there's sometimes you may be down and you just need to hear another saint. You just need to get a hug from one of the saints that will build you back up. Because sometimes people in the house, they see you all the time and they hear you all the time, and so they're not compassionate all the time to what you are going through. And so you will see a brother and sister that the Lord is speaking to and speaking through and said, Sister Nisha need a hug. And you will obey the voice of God and just give her a hug. And sometimes tears would just start rolling, y'all. Tears would just start rolling because now you have went and done what the Lord said. And sometimes that's all that person needs. Sometimes that's all that person needs.